Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
And I'm Dr. Robert Puff. Today our guest is an expert on financial success.
Dr. Puff is going to be talking to us about when parenting ends, as well as synchronicity.
And a question from you about what to do when your relationship has gone awry.
Another question is going to be about children and materialism. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Parenting is one of the most important jobs that anyone will do. Our parents impact us, and how they treat us, how they raise us, affects us throughout our lives. And so how do we be great parents with our children if we have children? And I think the important thing to realize is when you're raising them, it's important to love them, to treat them well, to reach out to them and give them rules and consequences. But what happens is when we get older, we think our parenting role stops. And that actually is not true. It continues on to the day we die. We parent until we die. If we have parents, they continue parenting us until the day we die. So let me use an example to illustrate that. Before I got married, I had a girlfriend whose father had left her when she was a child. And she heard from him a little bit off and on, but mostly as she got older, she hadn't heard from him at all. And so you would think her father has no impact on her life. And that, because I dated her, I knew her very well. That was not true. I mean, her birthdays would come, holidays would come, and she would hear nothing from him. And she knew where he lived roughly, but she didn't hear anything from him. And it hurt her. It caused her pain and suffering because she knew he was still alive and had no impact or influence on her life. So even when parents aren't in our lives, they still impact us. And I think our roles as parents, when we are parents, is to realize, I stop parenting never. I will always be a parent to my children. The role will go into more modeling, like how do I gracefully age, how do I deal with retirement, how do I interact with my loved ones as I get older. But the role of parenting, which is one of the most important roles any of us can ever take on, never stops. It goes throughout our lives. And I think too often we think, I've raised my kids now, I can let them do what they want, they're on their own, it doesn't matter what they'll do. Or whatever I do doesn't impact them, and that is very not true. It's far better to take the role of, yes, they are more independent now. Yes, I need to give them their space, but they are still watching me. They watch how I treat their mother. They watch how I treat the other siblings. They watch how I go into the later years of my life. My father, who's still alive, who I'm very close to, he's very vibrant, he loves to learn, he loves to travel, he's very involved in helping other people, he reaches out to homeless people. He's a big impact on my life in a very, very positive way. And you may have parents that are the opposite of that, like my ex-girlfriend, where it's a very negative impact on you. And the important thing is to say, okay, what impact is my parents having on me? Is it good? Excellent, embrace it. If it's bad, work it through and heal from it. But realize that the role of parenting never stops. So be a wonderful parent, and if you have parents, make sure you love them and learn from them, even from their mistakes. Peace.
Our first question this week is from Kim in Gilbert, Arizona. Lately, my boyfriend doesn't seem interested in me. All he wants to do is stay home and play games on his computer. I ask him if everything is okay with us, and he says yes. What should I do?
Kim, I think there might be two potential problems going on in this relationship with your boyfriend. The first one might be that inside of him, he feels hurt, something is wrong, but he doesn't want to share it with you. He would prefer to withdraw himself from you, be involved in his other activities, and not talk to you about what's happening inside of him. If that be the case, then you need to really talk to him and say, we need to talk about this because that isn't going to work if you keep your feelings inside. And with that prompting, perhaps through a gentle, hey, is everything okay? And he might be able to share his feelings. If not, what you could do is get help from a counselor that may help the two of you navigate your relationship so that he can learn how to express his feelings to you in a healthy way so the two of you can continue to grow and fall more deeply in love. Now, another consideration would be that he actually thinks a relationship is fine. He thinks spending time with his computer games and his TV and videos and all the things that he does is appropriate, and with you, he just wants a limited amount of time with you. There are people that have different forms of intimacy levels, and he may say, this is what is good and this is what I want for my life, and if that doesn't work for you, that may be something that does work for him. So two options there would be, one, you could talk to him about it and say, I know you prefer to play video games, but in order for us to be in a relationship, I need to spend time with you. And he could say, okay, I'm willing to meet you halfway, and I'll play some of my video games, I'll watch some TV, but I will hang out and do more things with you. Or the other option might be that he doesn't want to change, and this is the way he is. And at that point, you need to say, we're not going to work out because we are too different. I need someone to be intimate with, close with, and this won't work for me. What do you think?
I think that there definitely is something up, and you're picking up on something. You've been with him, I don't know for how long, but you realize that there's a change in the dynamics of the relationship. And the fact is, it's not working for you. It's not making you feel good. And I'm really glad that you're acknowledging that instead of just kind of pushing that down or just saying, okay, well, I guess that's what I deserve, because that's not fair to you. So, as Dr. Puff was saying, perhaps there is something going on in his life. Maybe it's not even related to you. Maybe he's struggling with stuff in his own life. And perhaps sometimes we don't even realize when we're struggling, and we kind of dive into things that sometimes aren't so healthy for us. I mean, video games compared to like drinking isn't that bad, but if he's cutting himself off from you or obsessively doing that, that is a problem. And when you say he's, at home, he doesn't want to go anywhere, I don't know if this is leading into a problem with him going to work, but it sounds like if this is a change, he is struggling with something. So I think it's very important, if you're going to have a happy, healthy relationship, to say to him, I care about you, I love you, and I want you in my life, but if we're going to work, we need to talk. I don't know if this is about you or if this is about me. I'm willing to go to counseling with you, which is a big step. Sometimes people aren't okay with that because they don't want to open up. But I think it's important for you to love yourself enough to say that I need a healthy relationship, which means I need to set a boundary and say, we need to talk. We need to work this out. And another thing is, in this culture and in many other cultures, men are oftentimes taught not to express their feelings, not to talk about those sensitive things. And if he grew up in a family where that's what went on, dad and mom never really talked about their stuff, maybe dad went about his own way when he was upset with things, that's something that needs to be worked through. So I think, if you really care about him, talk to him. But if he's not willing to work with you, not willing to make any change, as Dr. Puff said, that's something you really need to examine and look at, because you matter too.
Kim, I think you're on a path of getting your relationship in the right place and helping yourself move forward in your life.
And we encourage you to check out our ebook. It is called Getting It Right, A Guide to Healthy Relationships, which you can get on our website. Thank you so much for the question, and we wish you all the best.
Tranquility and peace. Find freedom and relaxation no matter where you are or who you're with. Be still, be free. Meditation for Health and Happiness, available at www.holistichealth.tv.
I'd like to welcome Giovanna Garcia to the show. She is the author of Why Chinese Women Aren't Broke, and she's here to talk to us about her own journey, as well as some very important success tips for you to be successful in your life. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so can you talk to us about your journey, because I think it's a very important story for people to hear, and how you kind of went into creating this book.
Okay, so to start off, when I grew up from Hong Kong, I was born and raised in Hong Kong, and growing up I was always a bit of a misfit. I didn't quite fit into the box that they created for us, and I was always a little too loud at school and too hard-headed for my parents.
Which caused you to even change your name, correct?
Yes, and that's my favorite story that people always ask, and I love telling that story because it means a lot to me. They always tell me that, hush, hush, and everyone's trying to make me into something that I'm not. And one day at school at social study, the teacher was teaching us about the Italian culture, and they say Italian embraces expressiveness, and speaking of your hands are perfectly fine, and that's exactly what I've been doing all my life. And I remember thinking, sitting way back in the room, That's what I'm supposed to be, Italian. So I went home and I looked up the Italian name and I wrote it down. And then when I was 16, I convinced my dad to send me to America to go to school on my own. So when I landed here in America and they asked me, what's your English name? And I say, Giovanna, because I thought that, when you're that age, you have no fear. And if we can all harness that and embody that for the rest of our life, we'll be so much more powerful. I thought I was just going to take America as a pit stop, and I was just going to hang out here for a little bit and then make my way to Italy.
Didn't turn out that way, did
where
it?
I belong. Well, what I find out is I belong here. America embraced me as the big Italian woman personality, confined in a little Chinese woman body, and they like me just fine. And so I've been here ever since, and I love my life here.
So can you talk to us about your journey in creating this book? Because I know that was a big part of it, but what led you to create this book?
Well, there's twofold. First and foremost, I'm an inspirational speaker. And when I go out and speak, I realized that people needed a little more long-lasting effect. They needed something that would help them to a longer period of time in order for them to attain more success to keep going. So I decided I need to write something down. And then as I started to have the process in my mind that I need to write, I were seeing also a lot of broken people walking around, just broken spirit. People were just down and feeling disappointed, and there was a lot of broken people. And I decided that I need to write something to help people to know that they can pull themselves up by the bootstrap, And that's my life's work now. It's to inspire, empower more people to live the American dream, because I don't care what people are saying, the American dream is still alive, Because when you think about it, America is what I call the immigrant experience. Almost all of us are immigrant if you trace down up our lineage. For me, it's myself. For you, perhaps, it's your...
My mother's from Cuba, and my grandfather was from Mexico on my dad's side. So
yeah, and that's what makes America so beautiful. And all of the immigrants landed in America with their suitcases of hopes and dreams, along with their core value from their home country. And that's what they brought with them. And what I want people to remember today in the fog that we're in is to remember that all of us came here for the place that we can make something happen. Mm-hmm. If we were to roll up our sleeve, put some elbow grease in it, we can make anything happen. Just me for an example, and many other women that I interviewed in the book are the same way. And none of us came here for the drive-through window for success.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. It takes work.
Right. We come here to have a chance, and that's what it's about. It's about getting everyone reconnected to their core value. And adapting,
and not giving up, correct?
Not giving up, and that's one of the universal keys that I talk about.
And I know that you were saying that this book is for everyone and anyone. It doesn't matter your gender, your race, your religion. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
And I think that's an important thing to touch on, because they might say, okay, well, I'm not Chinese, so maybe this doesn't relate to me, or I'm not a woman, and that's not the case. Your message is to everybody.
It's for everyone, because even though I interviewed 100 Chinese American women and I distilled their story down to the 7 universal keys, if you were to pick an Irishman, a Sicilian woman, an African American man, doesn't matter what ethnic, what gender they are, if they're successful in America, they most likely have the same 7 traits that I talk about in the book.
So why don't we talk about some of those?
Okay.
Can you share some of those secrets with us?
Okay.
Okay.
For what I would say most important to get anywhere to starting ground is you have to find your passion. And we hear that a lot, find your passion. But what does it really mean to find your passion? Finding it is half of the battle. It's finding your purpose within your passions. And what I mean by that is, if you're passionate about something, you have to find your purpose in it. For example, if you love music, and which I do, I'm not a very good singer. If that is my passion, I would have to find my purpose within the music industry. Maybe I can write, I could compose, I could produce, I could create. That's my purpose in my passion. Even though I might not be able to sing, but I can pursue my purpose within the passion. And that's number one key. I
had heard that quote that says, do what you love and the money will follow. Yes. And that doesn't mean just, don't work hard, because you do have to work hard. But I think what you're saying is the passion is key. If you are going to work every day and you hate it, that should be something you should listen to, right? Absolutely.
What I call your success sweet spot is where your passion and your purpose and your real life meet. That's your sweet spot. If you can find what you do that you love and your passion, where it meets, that's your success sweet spot. And you stay there and you continue to pursue it, you're gonna have everything you ever dream of.
You're absolutely right.
You know?
So, can you give us another key to success?
Sure. Another one I love to make sure that people hear about is successful people know how to be a farmer. And what I mean by farmer is successful people know that you go in and work every day and you might not get your result that day. So you have to think of like a farmer. You know, farmer wakes up every morning and they go work the field. Now, at the beginning of the year, they know what kind of crop they want at the end of the year, right? They figure out if I want to grow rice or grow corn or lettuce, whatever that they grow. They know that's what it is. And then throughout the year, every day, they work the field. There's storm, there is bad weather, just like current time, and they weather all that and every day, and they keep their goal in close to their heart, and they keep going, and they farm it every day.
I think the message is that it's not instantaneous results. So I know this is really hard because there's so many messages that we want to give and all those keys to success. So to continue to find out more of those, how can we get a hold of you and get a hold of this book?
Yes, my website is www.whychinesewomenarenotrobroke.com.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
In my journey through life, as I've grown and discovered more about being holistically healthy and successful, there's something that's come out that's very subtle yet very powerful that I'd like to share with you. As I was going along life and realized that I wasn't balanced in this area, perhaps I needed to exercise more, sometimes I needed to slow down, needed to eat better, and quiet my mind. That was probably the biggest one for me, as I learned to quiet my mind and be still, being more in the present and in the now. And the second thing is I learned to not judge other people, to love other people, to obviously set boundaries, but to really reach out with people in love, even people that were more difficult and challenging for me. I discovered something. I discovered in that self-love and love for others, as they became a more prominent part of my heart, something came out which I call synchronicity. And that basically means is, along the way, as I've stayed on this journey, there are subtle things that happen basically to encourage, remind me, to tell me that I'm on the right journey. It can be very subtle. I can be walking down the street thinking about something and someone will say something in direct response to what I'm thinking about. Maybe I'm thinking about someone I love and I'll say, hey, how's your mother doing? I was just thinking about my mother. Or someone else may be struggling through a difficult challenge on their own, and my heart will be thinking about, I wonder how they're doing. I call them up and they say, wow, I was just hoping you'd call me. It's a synchronicity where things that don't make sense, chances that have a very small chance of occurring, happen. The best story I can give of that is, years ago I had a woman I was working with, and she really struggled with self-care, and she was just always very, very busy. And finally, because I really cared for her, I said, you really need to slow down. I think there's going to be very serious consequences of that. So, she heard me, but she left my office, and she was in a hurry, as she often was. And as she was driving on the freeway, a truck got completely out of control and came within inches of killing her. But on the side, when it flashed right in front of her, on the side of the truck it said, slow down, in bold print. So it was right after she left the office. And for her, that was a message that, she needed to start listening and slowing down. And she really took it to heart and did change her life in a great way. And I think that's what synchronicity is about. It's where you can't prove it, and I can no way prove this to you. But if you learn to take care of yourself, if you really learn to quiet your mind, be more in the present, love other people, what you'll find is, perhaps, that things just start flowing. It's like doors open that shouldn't open, opportunities occur that you're really surprised by them. It's just like, it's not that everything's perfect, but things seem to flow so much more easily when there's something, a struggle that's coming along. It's like it just gets solved. So I've kind of learned to relax. When something goes awry, I learn to relax because I realize things kind of will work out. And I would just like to encourage you to try it. Try it for a few weeks, saying, okay, I'm going to really try to work a little bit taking better care of myself and loving other people better. And see if you don't find that the universe, God, reinforces that by giving you little signs, little clues that you're on the right path and that things just start working out well. Peace.
Our second question this week is from Tiffany in New York. My daughter is 12 years old and just wants to wear brand name clothing. She wants to look cool, otherwise the other kids won't like her. Please help me as this is a big problem.
Tiffany, I see two aspects to the problem that you're presenting about your daughter. One is, it seems like she's putting a lot of weight on the clothing that she wears to feel good about herself, and that's not good for her. You know, we are not what we wear, we're not our bodies, we're far more than that. And if we look externally to feel good about ourselves, it's not going to go well. So we start with that one. So how do you help your daughter feel good about who she is overall, not just with her clothing, but with, her personality, just because she's your daughter and you love her, with her school and academics and all the different aspects, and making sure that you working towards helping her loving herself in a variety of ways, not just because other people like her, because that will set her up to make other people be able to control her, and she'll get her esteem from other people, and she won't feel good about herself, because no matter how much people love us, sooner or later that may change, and if that changes, we go into pretty self-despair about that. They don't like me anymore, I feel terrible, it's awful. But another aspect of it is you could actually use her desire to have brand name clothes as a reward. So you want her to feel good about herself. If she does well in school, if she has a good attitude with you, if she helps around the house, and if she is just overall doing well, then you can say, honey, let's get you that brand name clothes because I'm really proud of all these accomplishments that you're doing. And that would be a way to reward her for what she wants after she's doing all these other things to make herself feel good.
What you just described is a great way to avoid entitlement issues, because those entitlement issues can grow and grow and grow. Even where you see kids going, well, I need a BMW or a Mercedes. I can't have a Honda or something that's like less than that. So you do want to be aware of that, because that's something that no bueno. So the other thing, though, I want you to pay attention to also what you're modeling. Do you always have to have brand names, or are you always carrying the designer things? If so, realize that you are modeling that for your daughter. Pay attention to the things that she's watching, magazines that she's reading or looking at. I know she's at 12, but sometimes they start looking at all these magazines that maybe aren't appropriate for them, and maybe they are age appropriate, but you can decide whether or not you want her to be watching these things. But I think what Dr. Puff said was really huge, is that if she's basing her self-esteem and coolness by what she's wearing in regards to brand name, that kind of says a lot. So you really want to work on building up her self-esteem through other things, and also offer those as rewards, so it's something that she's working for, that she doesn't just automatically get, because you don't want a little diva on your hands.
One other idea that I've suggested to many parents over the years is, I think what can really help with entitlement, like you said, is have your child be exposed to other people around the world. Mm-hmm. There are many people around the world that don't have remotely what your daughter has.
Don't even have shoes.
Right. So if she can go to a homeless shelter, help at a food bank, go to places where she can see how people live very differently, travel to another country that doesn't do as well as we do here in the U.S., and I think that can be a wonderful way to help her lose that desire for brand name.
It can open up her eyes and open up her heart, which is really important. Thank you so much for your question. How to Live a Positive Life, available at www.holistichealth.tv. Our quote this week is by William Shakespeare. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. So don't let fear and doubt get in the way of your success. Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Success Show. If you'd like to be kept updated as to all the new things that we're doing and creating, please subscribe to our website and we'll also send you a free ebook.
And also at our website, we have a bookstore with CDs, DVDs, and a variety of products for you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week.